go live is just the beginning. The real challenge, getting your team to use Salesforce on a daily basis without resistance, without complaints, and without confusion. Joining us is someone who lives and breathes this space. Robby Wagner, he is a Salesforce lead system learning consultant and SME at Paragon IT Professional. With over 15 years of experience, Robby has specialized in Salesforce training, user adoption, and change management. He has led over 30 successful projects by blending technical expertise as well as people-first strategies. Robby, welcome to GydeBites.
Thanks, Prasanna. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much, Robby. You could spend some time with us. We'll straight away jump into our conversation for today. So what do you think are the challenges teams face while using Salesforce effectively? So it's a huge system. Everyone knows that. But what are the challenges on the ground level? What the teams feel and face?
Yeah. So in my experience and what I do, I feel the challenges, there's several challenges that I see for companies when they're trying to use Salesforce effectively, and what they had planned for the system to be used. And that's mainly around change management and training. So the first challenge that I see at companies is just understanding that change management and training should be part of the plan. So sometimes I see companies put all the focus on the build, and they assume that users are just going to just naturally adopt it. And just because it's there or it's supposed to be better, but they just expect that to happen. Another challenge that I see is getting support from the top. So, I've been on a lot of projects in the past. I've seen sponsors, sound like they're really all about the change and they want to be a part of it, but then they don't assist with it when it comes to the communication. So, we need buy-in from the top, and we need the communication to kind of trickle down to the business leaders, the project leaders. So whenever this happens, it becomes less of a focus, I guess. And then when you try to partner up with these business leaders and you're trying to roll this out, sometimes it just becomes a burden. You become a burden, and it's because it doesn't get that support that it needs from the top. So, the way that I look at it is kind of like a chain link where we're only as strong as the weakest link. So if it's weak at the top, it's going to be very difficult to get the right stakeholders on board. Another challenge that I see is not including the users. So the end users who are going to be using the system, we don't include them early enough on in the change process. So sometimes a company will plan for change, but then they wait to the last minute to kind of include everyone and communicate these changes for a new system that's coming out. And employees that are invested in the company, if you don't include them from the start, it can really be a negative experience and lead to poor action. So honestly, if they don't care enough to tell them early on and include them, it must not be that important, right? So, that's a problem. And I'd say the last challenge that I see in projects, is companies think, maybe they're planning for this, but they think when it comes out to the actual training, they think that anybody can just do it. And that's a problem. So this couldn't be any further from the truth. Sometimes they think that they can just pull one of their administrators from the floor. Hey, you're gonna train this new system. And their mindset's somewhere else. They're busy. Or maybe they take like a general training advisor, somebody who doesn't know Salesforce, for example, and they just put them in there and they think that training is just, an item to tick, check the box.
Yeah, it's to
and then
be.
This is why they pull me in. So I usually get the call and I come and fix the problem. Is a lot of times when I get brought into a project is to kind of help them do that. And they kind of learn the hard way in the beginning, but then they realize the importance and the value of it. So yeah, that's what I would say are the challenges.
No, that's pretty much what resonates with me as well, because we work with multiple customers who are using Salesforce and so on. So typically, what you said, right? it's the attitude that sort of is available everywhere, where we think that okay, building is important, and once we build out, everyone will come and they will start using it and so on. But once we roll out, we realize that okay, now no one is using it, and people are not understanding what to do, and so on and so forth. One aspect of this is also in today's complicated, complex businesses and organizations. The training needs also differ by the roles, by skill level, by what they're doing on their jobs, and so on. So how do you tailor that experience when you are specifically talking about Salesforce as a training? How do you differ basis what they're doing, what their role is in the organization, and skills levels what they have?
Yeah, sure. That's a great question. So, the way that we have to kind of tailor training for different roles and skill levels, the way what it looks like is for different roles, it's important to partner with the business leaders and any SMEs that are on the business side just to understand the different roles and hopefully understand their skill level. But once we understand this, I think it's a good idea to take more of a day in the life approach, kind of something that's relevant to that user. So if you're in a specific role, training should kind of emulate like what their day to day looks like, right? So not an informational, not the life and science behind the system, but how are they going to use it? So they want to know exactly how this is impacting them and how they're going to be using it. And that's really just what they want, what they need to know, right? That's adult learning right there. But when it comes to skill level, it's a little bit different. So I'll tell you from my experience what I see.
Mhm.
We partner with business leaders and we need to find out about their users because we don't get to meet all of them. And, and a lot of times they don't know everything about their users. They just assume that everyone's at the same level sometimes. And so they tell us that, these guys are pretty tech savvy, don't worry about this, you can be quick or whatever. But, as a trainer, I can't, I listen to them, but at the same time, I have to anticipate that not every single person in training is going to be, tech savvy. They're not, they're not just get it. So a lot of times what happens is businesses want to combine multiple roles, right? Because we don't want to have training all week long and pull people from the floor. We want to see what we can do. Can we combine multiple roles into one? And so I'll give you an example. We had a call center reps who use telephony, like a phone system every day.
Mhm.
They're pretty, that's what they do all day long. So the business decided, well, we got a couple people from controls or we got some people from an audit department that need to be on this training too to understand it. And those people don't use telephony. So as a trainer, I shouldn't blow through just that part right there and just assume that everybody gets it. They understand the lingo and stuff. So for me personally, I have to anticipate that there's going to be at least one person on that call that doesn't understand. And I don't cater the training just to that 1, 2, 3 people on call, but I need to be aware that that's it. And I need to be mindful that they might not be following along as easily as everyone else. So yeah, make sure that you have the right protocols in place for things like that. Give plenty of time for questions and just kind of, you know, just be mindful. I think
Yeah,
is
yeah. And it is always the case that people try to club the trainings together so that everyone is sort of going through the training, but that does not help every time because it's like people have different needs, people learn at different pace and so on. But that's just how things are. So I want to come to something which is like inside Salesforce, right? So are there any tools or features that people can take help of while they are using the Salesforce, while they are sort of in the Salesforce doing the job and so on?
yeah. So when we're transferring, like this knowledge of this new system, it's a big, transformation project. They're going to be replacing other systems with Salesforce, or maybe whatever the use case is. Generally, when it comes to learning, we provide job aids, and we
Hmm.
put those and some other mechanisms. But really, what can we leave them with? We want to provide full support, not just training. Learning doesn't happen just on that one day. Learning happens before, during, and after.
Yeah.
So we create job aids
Hmm.
a lot of times, and it's important for whatever the consultant to understand what works for them. What have they used in the past? What are they used to? For me, I like to give people options. So I think everybody has preferences. I think people will use what they have to use, but I like to give options. Because some people might want a full on user guide, for example, while someone else might just need a one page quick reference guide or a micro
Hmm.
learning video.
Hmm.
Whatever whatever it is that they prefer, I like to provide options. That's my go to. Um, Also, I think it needs to be. It's very important that it's relevant to the user. So we're talking about like a user guide, for example. Um, it should be. It should have the same flow as the training. In my opinion, I've come to companies where they wanted 500-600 page user guides for free, and it looks nothing like training. So when they go to it, it looks foreign to them. So if you can kind of follow the same format, that day in the life, here's what you need to know, and kind of here's a sequence of order that we went through with training. It kind of helps them jog their memory and recall that information. And it's a lot easier for them to follow along instead of confusing them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah, I mean, and in today's world where the attention spans are reducing, no one likes those 100-page and 200-page user guides, right? I mean, I'm not going to search in that and see how do I do something. Just tell me here and give me a 30-second video or 30 seconds some tutorial, and then let's go from there. That's where people are these days. At least the younger generation is on that part of the spectrum. So, Robbie, I wanted to come to the long term adoption of Salesforce. So, not just during the training. So, when the system is new, there will be trainings and so on and so forth. But how do you companies ensure and improve the long term adoption that people keep using the system for a long time, at least till the time companies invested in it?
Yeah, that's a great question too. And I would say for long term adoption and support is, what we do today is going to impact what happens tomorrow.
Mhm.
And, my take on it is that companies need to prioritize change management and training best practices early on. So, we need to get full support from the top, as we mentioned earlier. They really need to be the cheerleaders of this and, communicate that down. Business leaders, managers, department heads, they need to buy into the idea, and they need to from the start, and they need to start communicating that down to their users, to their team members. Because once everybody is sold on the idea that this new system's coming, it's going to be better. Um, it's easier to carry out this long term, approach where, we want them to continue long after maybe I'm off of a project, for example. Sometimes I get brought in and I get taken out of a project, 30 days after go live. But what's going to give them that long term support? Early adoption by all the key stakeholders, I think, is very important there. You know, if we don't do this, especially to the end users, they're not part of the planning. They're not going to be as excited, and they're not going to take it as serious, maybe
Mhm.
as a company had hoped that they would. But it all starts from the top, and it's getting everybody on board and with this new mindset moving forward. And that's the new change. It doesn't just happen this one time, but this is continuing. This is going to be for a
Yeah.
long.
Yeah, yeah, and even with even when we are working with our customers, we see this difference, right? That if you when they are launching the system, any system for that matter, if you have a plan in place while you are launching, then you are far better off when
Yeah.
the system is like 2 years old, 3 years old, and so on. But if you launch a system and then 6 months down the line, you realize that, okay, no one knows how to use the system. No one knows what features are there, what modules are there. Then you are sort of going back again to a launch phase and then training people and so on and so forth. So yeah, I'm totally in agreement with what you said, that how we start is how we are going to end the journey. I totally get that. Just double clicking on something, Robbie, if let's say if you were to start fresh today, how would you plan enablement for first 90 days? Maybe for very few objective steps is fine.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I'll answer like, this is a pretty loaded question because it really just depends. There's, every company, all the leaders in it just depends, on their planning and how they do things. But if I had 90 days that they brought me onto a project, what would I do? It's very quick. 90 days, not a long time. But for the first 45, 60 days, there's going to be a lot of planning and a lot of partnering with people, building out the process, the strategy. So I would find who the key players are at the company, who I need to partner with. I would educate them on the impacts of proper change management and training, and then also, educate them on the lack of not having these in place. Once I have their buy-in, I would, obviously partner with other members of the team too, the project team, your product manager, your business analyst, whoever those guys are. We all need to work in unison together. I need to do my part. Everyone has their priorities, but my priority is going to be rolling this out and getting user adoption up. So it takes a team to partner and align. So that my job as a consultant, my first, on this 90-day journey, for the first 45 to 60 days, I would partner with them. I would design, the proper training and rollout that's suitable for that company. What's relevant for them, and all the activities that surround that too. That's, there's a lot of activities that happen, pre-training, during training, pre-go live, go live, post-go live support, all those things. So that would be the first part. Post-go live. This is important, just as important, right? So it doesn't just end with training and then see you guys later. Good luck in the future. What I do is I have regular touch points with the business afterwards. First we get the initial feedback, but then we meet with them and find out how it's taking for the end users. Are there any pain points? How do we measure this? What are the pain points? What's the feedback, internally? How's user adoption looking? And then based on those answers, we would decide what to do with, next steps. So if they need a refresher training, they need some more support, they need some office hours, they need whatever it is that they need. It's all dependent on that feedback, and that only comes afterwards, right? So everyone can be excited and feel really good about the system at training. A week later, it's go live and nobody remembers, anything, or they forgot these little things, or they're getting stressed out. So, so that would be the 90 days. What I could do is kind of plan for it, not just leading up to go live or training and disappearing. I would have to stick around and make sure that they're supported afterwards.
Yeah, makes sense. And I think the real test starts when the training is completed and now users have to use the systems on the job. Then they realize, oh shit, I don't remember this anymore. So what do I do? And so on and so forth. So Robbie, before we wrap up, right, we always ask our guests to leave our listeners with one actionable tip. It can be related to what we talked about. It can be related to something valuable that you have learned in your Salesforce journey. What would you like to share with our audience?
Yeah. So maybe a tip for the audience. I guess a tip for businesses and anyone that works in strategy, within this digital, these projects that we're talking about right now. I would encourage that they include change management as part of their project planning. Take it serious. Having a new system that's faster, it's more productive, it's overall just better. That's only that is valuable as the users who are going to be using it and adopt it. So how good is the system if nobody likes it or wants to use it? So that would be my tip, is just to include change management, take it serious as part of your project planning.
Wow. So, everyone listening, change management should be a part of the project plan. That's the tip that Robby has just given us. Robby, thank you so much for joining us on GydeBites. Your insights are both practical and objective in nature, so that people can go back and implement. And that's exactly what makes a difference when you are talking about tools like Salesforce. Thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you very, very much for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you once again. And to our listeners, if you like this episode, make sure to follow GydeBites. And for more sharp, snackable Salesforce conversations, I am Prasanna, and I will catch you in the next one.